Good morning, sports diehards. Welcome to the 21st edition of the Living Room Podcast, a diehard sports radio production. I'm your host, Steve Itzkowitz, aka Speak Easy Steve. Is there anything to talk about? Oh, yeah, right. The National Football League schedule release happened last Thursday. So we all know who our team's going to play, even though it's not going to be played for a few more months. But hey, it is the NFL. It is a Living Room Podcast. These two things are synonymous. We're going to break down the NFL schedule. 9 games in 7 different countries. We're getting close to when each team will play an international game each and every season, which will probably happen when the NFL goes to 18 games as soon as it possibly can. We're going to get into that, break that down, break
Hmm.
that schedule down to infinitum in terms of our teams, Jack's Giants, my 49ers, Marvin's Jaguars, along with the international schedule, as well as some of the more interesting matchups we're looking forward to. And the NBA versus the NFL on Christmas Day is going to happen again. We're going to get into all that. Speaking of the NBA playoffs are raging on. We have the Western Conference final matchup. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champs, will host the San Antonio Spurs, the team with the two best records in the NBA, will face off in the West. And in the East, the New York Knickerbockers are awaiting the winner of the Detroit Cleveland series. Currently, it's 3-3. Is Detroit going to do to Cleveland what they just did to Orlando? And that's overcome a 3-2 deficit. We'll find out. That game happens today. In the meantime, let's go ahead and bring in our panelists here, calling in from Orange, Connecticut, in New Haven County, Batman, Dire Sports Radio long timer, and one of my dearest friends. Welcome back to the pod because he wasn't here last week, but we're glad to have him back today, Mr. Jack Angelo. Good morning, Jack. Love the
Good
Lawrence
morning.
Taylor Giants jersey.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Marvin. That's right. I figured I'd go a little goat style today. The best of I'm biased, the best defender to ever play in the National Football League.
Hard to disagree.
56 himself. But I'm glad to be back. I did watch the pod last week. You guys killed it. So you didn't miss a beat last week. Way to go, Marvin. Hosting the show last week.
Indeed,
Did.
he did host the show, and he's the most delusional Jacksonville Jaguars fan that we know. A man who is all things Florida sports, even though he lives in Baltimore physically, his heart is always in Florida, particularly Jacksonville to the U down in Miami. Welcome back to the pod, marvelous Marvin Harris. Good morning, Marvin. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning, gentlemen. Glad to be here with you all once again on a bright sunny Sunday. Ready to talk about some sports.
Absolutely. And also to add to the preview, some teams are out, including my Lakers. Hence, I'm wearing the gold, kind of donning the gold today, even though it's not official Lakers gear. It is reminiscent of the Lakers yellow gold. Where do they go from here into what's going to be an interesting offseason? Get into some of the teams that are out of the playoffs at this point. And then we will go ahead with the preview of the Western Conference Finals and also figure out who the Knicks are going to play in the Eastern Conference Finals. Is there a team that the Knicks should want to play in that particular round? So we'll get into that. In the meantime, gentlemen, the NFL schedule has come out. A lot to talk about. 9 games in 7 different countries this season. And each of our teams know exactly who they're going to play. We know who they're going to play. The question I have for you guys first off, and I'll start with you, Jack, is there a particular game on the calendar not involving your team? We'll get into your team in a moment, but not involving your team that you're particularly intrigued by when you took a look at the schedule?
Well, obviously I can't remember every game off the top of my head, but let's hop right to week one. Rams Niners set the tone. Obviously Seattle's the defending world champions. Seattle and the Niners, excuse me, San Fran and the Rams are right there with them. That division's a three-way race. I mean, we're going to assume Arizona is still going to be Arizona, despite Jeremiah Love. But week one, I mean, they're traveling, 6,000 miles away to play the game, but that's beside the point. Um, I'm intrigued by Rams Niners. Let's see who sets the tone early in this season in a big NFC West battle early.
Yeah, it's a home game for the Rams. And we all know that when the Rams host the 49ers at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, that it's mostly a Niner partisan crowd, which is a little bit surprising because I expect the Chargers visiting team to have more than the Chargers, but a lot of times the Rams sometimes, depending on who comes in, are going to have more of their fans at the stadium. This is why some stadiums and cities are trying to stop opposing fans from buying tickets. At Intuit Dome, for example, there's this big area called the Wall, seats that go right up and down. There's no breaks in them, and only Clipper fans are allowed to sit in those particular seats. So maybe NFL teams could do that if they want to stop opposing fans from buying tickets, or like the Knicks with the Philadelphia 76ers in their round. A lot of Knicks fans showing up to Philadelphia for the closeout game before the Knicks took out the Sixers in the playoffs, and we'll talk about them in a moment. That they want to try to sell more to their home fans than the away fans. But the problem is, if you're charging so much money for tickets, sometimes the people that don't live in your town can afford them more than the people who do live in your town. So it's one of those double-edged swords where it's like you want more fans to attend the game, but the games aren't always affordable for the average fan, for the average working person, whatever you want to call it. But it's a home game for the Rams. We'll see how well Rams fans travel. We'll see how well 49er fans travel. 49er fans travel generally very, very well. So we'll see who has the advantage in that stadium. But I would agree with you that it's a big time rivalry. It's two of the best teams in the NFC. It's two of the best teams in the division that might be the best in the entire NFL, the NFC West. And I think it's going to be a great way to open up the season because obviously the Rams and the 49ers do harbor Super Bowl aspirations coming into the season. Marvin, welcome back on the line. I was just asking Jack, the team that the game, when you look at the schedule initially, not involving your team, but a game on the schedule that stands out to you immediately when you look at the NFL schedule. Jack said Rams 49ers. I'm inclined to agree with him. However, what do you say as far as the game on the schedule that you look forward to seeing the most, aside from a game that's involving the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Ah, yes, and I apologize. Something's going on with my camera, but I'm here. I was able to hear that whole conversation. He I think the game for me, the game of week one, to stay with that theme, is going to be Cowboys and Giants. I think to round out Sunday night, I think that game is going to be awesome. I think we'll get a chance to see the Harbaugh, his debut. Hopefully we get Scatterpool back. Hopefully we have Neighbors back. We get to see the debut second season of Dart, and Dallas feels as though they improved. We'll get a chance to see if their defense really did. So I'm really excited for that game.
Yeah, that is going to be a good game, and it kind of leads to another question for you guys. The toughest division in football. There's a few divisions you could make a case for. You can make a case for the NFC West. You can make a case for the AFC West. And it just so happens the NFC West and the AFC West will face each other in this season, which are going to be some very interesting matchups, to say the least. However, when you guys look at the schedule, having gone through the draft, having gone through free agency, which division do you think is going to be the hardest to win coming into this season? You might be surprised by my answer. I'll start with you, Marvin. Based on the schedule, free agency, the draft, where we are at this point going into OTAs, which division do you think is going to be the hardest to win coming into the 2026 season?
My initial thought when you asked that question was to go automatically to the NFC North just because of we know that division was 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 already tough. Had some young players last year, but they matured and gotten tougher. Um, had some losses, added some players. So I wanted to say NFC North, but I'm gonna go with the AFC North. I think if depending on looking at what that draft looked like, if Cleveland really did improve, if Deshaun Watson becomes their starting quarterback, Ravens definitely just retooled, and they have a new offense, they have a new head coach. However, we definitely want to count them out. Cincinnati has improved. I think I think that division is going to surprise a lot of people. I think they're going to do as they normally do, but I think it's going to be a bloodbath. I really do. And you know, I want to discount Pittsburgh, but you can't. Especially since Aaron Rodgers now has decided that he's going to grace them with his presence for this year. But you want to discount them, but when it comes down to it, as far as in the division goes, and they all know each other, they play each other tough. I think AFC North.
AFC North, you could definitely make a case for, although I wouldn't trust Cleveland any further than I could throw them, to be honest. I didn't like the selection of the head coach, with all due respect to Todd Monken. How good is Deshaun Watson going to be? Hasn't played in a couple of years effectively. And of course, you still have the specter of Shador Sanders over there. As funny as it is to say that about a fifth round pick, Shador Sanders is obviously a guy that brings a lot of potential distractions to the Cleveland Browns. Is he going to start? And he probably can play in the NFL. I think he's probably better than the fifth round pick that he was. That being said, I can't make a prediction on Cleveland. When it comes to predicting, my feeling about predicting things in sports is that that prediction should be on very solid ground. Can you say Cleveland is on very solid ground right now as a franchise? I'm not so sure. Therefore, trying to predict them is like trying to jump from A to Z in the alphabet and missing all the other letters. You have to see how things go step by step with a team like that, with a franchise like that. They're not on solid ground right now. They might be. To your point, they might be because the NFL is not 100%, it's 99%, and that there's always that 1% that comes up every year that surprises people. Could Cleveland be that team? They could. That being said, there's about 22 other teams that could also have that case. And if I had to bet Cleveland versus the field as to who's going to surprise us this year, I'd take the field. So we'll see about Cleveland. The Aaron Rodgers situation in Pittsburgh, do you think ultimately he's going to come back? Because obviously, if
He
the
already
AFC
signed.
North is going to be
No,
a
no,
tough
he yeah,
division
he
to
He's
win,
signed.
he's
Aaron
done.
Rodgers is going to have to be a
That
part of
happened
that.
last night.
What's that?
Yeah, yeah, he signed
Rodgers is
yesterday.
back.
Yeah,
Oh, he
yeah, he's
signed.
back.
Yep.
Yeah,
25 mil.
Oh, okay. So he didn't sign by the draft, which was expected, and that's good because I was just about to say that with Aaron Rodgers, no one has really mentioned this in sports talk radio, but he's not a year-round football guy. He's football
Can I
when
stop us right there
football
for a
is the
minute?
thing, and then once the season ends, he has a life. Think of a life as being a variable, as being multifaceted. Aaron Rodgers is not just football all year long. Therefore, I didn't really ever consider the possibility he's going to retire because if he wanted to retire, I think it would have taken a lot less time for him to figure that out than to recommit to playing football. It's just a time of the year where he doesn't deal with football whatsoever because he's got other interests, obviously.
And let me ask you gentlemen a question.
Mhm.
Speak, you know, the obligatory Aaron Rodgers conversation. Is it really? I mean, I know this year he gives them the best chance to win. What's Pittsburgh's ceiling with Aaron Rodgers? 8 wins, 9 wins?
First
You know,
round playoff exits.
you know,
I
I said it a couple weeks ago. It might be better for Pittsburgh to have a 5 win season, and go
could be,
with
yeah.
who's there? Is it Riley? Is it Leonard? I know Aller won't
Riley
start.
Leonard, yeah.
Riley
Well,
Leonard.
you have Drew Aller, yeah, and then I
Yeah,
think, oh
Aller
no,
won't start yet.
actually,
But
isn't it Mason Rudolph? Isn't he still the backup in Pittsburgh?
no, I think Rudolph will be cut or traded.
Yeah, so
Um,
Riley Leonard, Drew Aller, and of course Aaron
wouldn't it be
Rodgers.
better, big picture for Pittsburgh, given what next year's draft is? For Pittsburgh to have, I think the best thing Pittsburgh can do, we've seen this script before with Rodgers, without Rodgers. They're 8, 9, 10 wins, first round bounced. They're not good enough to win in the AFC. I don't know. I could probably name 5 AFC teams right now that Pittsburgh has no chance against. And none of them from the North. I don't think they can beat Houston. I don't think they can beat Jacksonville. I don't think they can beat Buffalo. I don't think they can beat Denver. We don't know what Kansas City. That's 4 right there. Wouldn't it be better for Pittsburgh to have a 5 win season and get the damn quarterback situation straightened out next year?
Marvin, you want to take that one before I jump in?
oh yeah, yeah, and I mean he's not going to. I mean he's not going to overnight improve from how he played last year. And then you're talking, it's a system he's familiar with, but there'll be some tweaks. And let's not forget, him and McCarthy are not buddies. They are not friends. He did not. That when they parted ways with each other, when McCarthy ended up leaving Green Bay, that was not a peaceful, nice situation. So we're going to see how this is going to go. Um, but yeah, I don't see them improving on their win loss record from last year. They were a field goal kick away from not getting into the playoffs, and then the way they showed up for the playoffs, they might as well have not been there. So the think that that the record just because he came back will improve dramatically is just not going to be the case.
Yeah, for me, you have a point, Jack. That being said, it's perception versus reality. Here's the reality. why do you bring back Aaron Rodgers and hire Mike McCarthy if you're thinking in terms of having a season where you have only 5 wins? They're going for the playoffs. They'll probably get into the playoffs. They'll probably lose in the first round of the playoffs. Where they've been for the last few years, however, really the job of Mike McCarthy, aside from trying to help Aaron Rodgers get back into the playoffs and make a deeper run than he's done lately with Pittsburgh and, of course, with Green Bay previously, and the Jets, he didn't even get into the playoffs, but also in the hopes that he could bring one of the younger quarterbacks along for the future. And that's probably when Pittsburgh is going to hopefully reemerge as a Super Bowl contender because they haven't been that in several seasons. So you're bringing in Mike McCarthy, one to help the Steelers get into the playoffs because he has that experience. He is a good coach. He has a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're also bringing him in for the future. So it's a playoff team right now without Super Bowl hopes, while also establishing what the future is going to look like, with whoever the next quarterback may be, whether it be Riley Leonard or Drew Aller, or possibly maybe they do have a 5-win season anyways. Who knows? I mean, it's not a guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is going to ball off this year. The Pittsburgh offense, a lot of question marks about it. They had a decent draft, and the defense is probably going to be good, especially if TJ Watt comes back healthy. But for the most part, Pittsburgh feels like they're in football purgatory right now, and that they're a playoff team, probably losing the first round. But their primary hope is that Mike McCarthy could develop the next quarterback that's going to allow Pittsburgh to finally become a Super Bowl contender year in and year out, what they haven't been in several seasons.
Yeah, all fair points. It's just, you brought McCarthy in. McCarthy is a quarterback guru. Uh, he did very well, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers. He did very well, despite what you may say about him. He turned Dak Prescott, into a very good quarterback. He has his flaws, no
MVP
doubt.
candidate a
You
couple
know,
years ago.
he's Dak Prescott's definitely top 10 in the league, and he has been for quite some time. Um, the reason I said that is twofold. Number one, next year's draft, but you don't play for that. See what you got with Leonard and Aller. Are they the guys that McCarthy wants to roll with for next year? If they go this whole year, not see Leonard or Aller, and maybe neither one of them turns out to be anything more than a backup, that's very fair, and
Mhm.
likelihood that's what's going to happen. See if you have something there, because if you do and you get those quarterbacks under center this year, you can find out if McCarthy has something to work with going forward next year and the year after that, or if you need to dip into the quarterback pool in the first round next year, or if you found the guy, or someone you think that's going to be the guy. Let's say it's Riley Leonard. You can go other places in the draft and strengthen your team in other ways. And you said it, Marvin said it, they're in football purgatory. 9-8, sneaking into a wild card and losing in the first round earns you the 19th pick of the draft, 20th, 22nd pick of the draft, whatever it is. Um, Long term, I'm not sure if the Rodgers pros outweigh the Rodgers cons.
Yeah, it's a. I think Aaron Rodgers keeps them relevant.
Oh, of course he
That
does.
might be the best value for the money right now for
But they're
Pittsburgh,
the
is
Pittsburgh
continued
Steelers. I mean,
relevance,
they're
because
always
you
relevant.
don't know what Leonard and Aller are going to be. I would lean towards Aller probably has a better chance of becoming a solid pro than Riley Leonard. I think he's got better raw skills than Riley Leonard does. That being said, Drew Aller has to learn how to win a big game. That's obviously the bugaboo on him. Hence, he fell in the draft because his performance in big games was not
Well,
exactly
that
what
and he
he
was hurt.
wanted to be. But I think he's got better raw skills and better overall talent and physical development than Riley Leonard does. So
We'll
it's
see.
a situation in Pittsburgh that is very complex, to say
Yeah.
the
I
least.
just wanted to pose the question. I don't want to get off on a
Yeah.
tangent here. I know we
Yeah.
have a lot of ground to cover.
So your pick for the division that is going to be the toughest to win this season, Marvin went with the AFC North. What about you? Which division do you think will be the toughest to win this season?
I'm going to go a little bit off the reservation. I waxed poetically about the NFC West, which I think probably has the best case to be made because you have three legitimate teams who can win that division. You can also make a strong case for the NFC North, with Chicago and Green Bay and the Vikings, and Detroit. which I almost went to. I'm gonna go a little bit off the reservation here. I saw that they have the fifth easiest schedule in the league again. I'm gonna go with Marvin's AFC South because you have Houston coming back. Houston has questions, especially at the quarterback position, but they're loaded. They're loaded,
On
especially on the
defense,
defense.
yeah.
Um, Jacksonville, 12-win team last year, only getting better. Um, Jacksonville didn't do a lot in free agency. Maybe they didn't need to. Now you have a book out on Cohen and what Cohen likes to do and how he's going to call a game. So maybe Jacksonville might have to adjust on the fly a little more. And the Indianapolis Colts are now healthy again. We don't know what Daniel Jones, well, I think I know what Daniel Jones is as a Giants fan. But I think that AFC South could be a bear. I don't think Tennessee's ready for prime time, so let's leave them to the side. But if Indy with their soft schedule gets off to another hot start and they don't get hurt, is Indy in the mix for the AFC South title? I legit think you have three teams with three very different strengths that can compete in the AFC South. I think it's going to be intriguing week to week in the AFC South.
I mean, the Colts got off to the 8-2 start last year.
They
And
did, and they have an
Jacksonville
easy schedule this year
Jaguars,
too.
after a slow start, came on, in the second half of the season with Trevor Lawrence looking like an MVP candidate before they flamed out in the playoffs against Buffalo. It is an intriguing division. I agree with you about Tennessee. I just feel like
They need more time.
With Indiana, we'll see. With the Colts, we'll see. I don't trust Daniel Jones any more than you do. That being said, they are good defensively. Although
And they have pieces.
Michael Pittman, the wide receiver, left Indianapolis, didn't he? Did he
They
go
did.
somewhere else?
Yes.
So who's coming in to replace him? So I respectfully disagree that the AFC South might be the bear that you think it could be, given that I don't know how good Indianapolis is going to be offensively. Have a pretty good idea on Jacksonville, and I think CJ Stroud can't get much worse than he's been. He's poised to have a jump. We know how good they are defensively. I agree with you about Tennessee. I think Marvin would probably feel the same way. But Marvin, jump in here in terms of Jacksonville and their prospects of winning the AFC South again, like they did last season, and facing their teams in the AFC South. How do you view those potential matchups?
Oh, it's going to be a gauntlet. It is definitely going to be a gauntlet. I think the South definitely did improve. I just didn't want to pick my division. I don't want to be seen as a homer, but yeah, we definitely will have
Be a
a tough
homer.
division.
Doesn't mean you're wrong. Don't
Yeah,
confuse
every
bias with being wrong, by the way. Too many people in the media do that. I know what each of those words mean, and I promise you they're different. So if you want to be a homer, be a homer. It doesn't mean you're wrong, but it doesn't
so
mean you're
so
right
uh,
either. So
so definitely from top to bottom, the division has improved. I guess everybody's waiting to see what Tennessee is going to look like. They added some tools. This will be their second season. So if Tennessee definitely, and I assume they will be better than they were last year. If they improve to a degree, they added some more to that defense. So if they come out stout, Indy just has to have a quarterback. We'll see if Jones makes it back. But of course, top of the class for the division right now, Houston and Jacksonville, and it'll be a battle to the end, just like it was last year. Even though Jones got hurt, we ended up with three teams that were jockeying right at the end of the season, and it came down to the last 2 weeks to decide who was going to be the winner of our division.
definitely a lot of intrigue. I figure the quarterback that performs the best is going to give themselves an edge in the AFC South. And for Jacksonville, I think defensively they've got some room for improvement. If they do improve, look out. Houston's got room to improve offensively. If they improve offensively, look out. We'll see if Indianapolis can match the start, have a similar start this season to last season. And Tennessee is the future of the AFC South, maybe the AFC overall, if Cam Moore could take a step forward in season two, and Robert Saleh, the battery of Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll could get the Tennessee Titans going in the right direction. More importantly, Amy Adams Strunk, one of the five worst owners in the NFL, actually gets out of the way for once and let those guys cook. For me, the division that is going to be the toughest to win, combined with the most intrigue, I got to go with the NFC East. I mean, let's face it, you have the Eagles, who were the first team to win back-to-back NFC East championships for the first time in over 20 years. They're going to trade A.J. Brown, but they did draft Mekhi Lemon to replace him, and you've got other talent over there. I know the quarterback situation with Jalen Hurts, the new offensive coordinator, Sean Hannity. We have to see how that works out, but Hannity's installing an offense that apparently Jalen Hurts is a little excited about. We'll see how that unfolds. They're still good defensively. They are a little bit older. They're not getting any younger. They still have a very good offensive line, so certainly Philly will contend for that NFC East. Then you get to the Giants. They bring in Harbaugh. A lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Excellent draft where they address two major needs, offense and defense. They're going to be much improved. I think the key for them is Jackson Dart learning self-protection and staying on the field, and Kem Scatteraboo staying on the field as well. But I think they have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, and now they have a legitimate head coach, probably the first legitimate head coach that they've had since Tom Coughlin, with all the
No doubt.
hiccups they've gone through since that
No doubt.
time. Yeah, so I like what the Giants are cooking over there. I like what they're doing as far as building the team. We'll see how it comes together, but I think they have a chance to be one of those 22 teams in the NFL that could potentially be a worst to first story in that adjacent neighborhood, if you will. Then you go to the Cowboys, had an excellent draft themselves. We know they're going to put points up offensively, but you bring in Malachi Lawrence, that could provide them with the pass rush they didn't have last year. You bring in Caleb Downs, that is going to stabilize that secondary. You hope to get Diggs back in the secondary, but Trevon Diggs back. They're going to be improved defensively and offensively. They're going to put up points. They could contend for that division. They've been out of the playoffs the last couple of years. So another one of those teams that could come up and potentially bite you based on how the offseason is going so far. They did trade Odigizua to my 49ers. So we'll see how that goes. But
Isn't Diggs
Malachi
gone?
Lawrence, Rashawn Gary, and along with Caleb Downs in the secondary, figures out that defense better. And then there's Washington. You draft Sonny Styles, which I love. I think he's going to have a dramatic impact on that defense in year one. Is Jaden Daniels going to come back healthy, and can he play the way that he did in his rookie season? If he does, and Washington improves defensively, kind of like Dallas could, I think they're in the mix as well. I think the NFC East has got four teams. Any one of them can win the division, depending upon the quarterback play and the improvements of their weaknesses. Extremely intriguing division. I'm looking forward to see those teams duke it out because I think it's going to be really, really good games to determine who will be the victor of the NFC East.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously the Eagles are still the Eagles, and to be the man, you got to beat the man. I think the Eagles' window is closing, in terms of this group. Um, yeah, this very well may be Lane Johnson's last year. He's had a tough time staying healthy. They've had all sorts of coaching issues in Philadelphia. Who was arguably considered the best offensive line coach in the league, um, isn't doing it anymore. So I think Sirianni's on the hot seat in Philadelphia, as strange as that may sound. There might be a regime change in Philadelphia. I've never been a Jalen Hurts guy. I wasn't a Jalen Hurts guy all the way back to Alabama. I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. I know he's had two very, very good Super Bowls, but we'll see. If Devontae Smith and Lemon can hold it down on the outside. Can Saquon bounce back from what was a subpar year? Dallas, same questions. Their offense is going to score. I need to see their defense do it on the field. Um, Washington, again, I need to see Jaden Daniels do it again. He had a great rookie year. Last year, I know he dealt with injuries and that defense was old. They've injected some youth into that defense. Um, I need to see Washington do it. And the Giants are a wild card right now. We don't know what the
Yeah.
Giants are going to look like under John Harbaugh. What gives me as a Giants fan hope, they had five double-digit leads last. They won four games last year. They had five. There were five other games where they had double-digit leads that they blew. With any kind of competent coaching or halfway decent play, they could have been a 9-win team last year. And you're right about Jackson Dart. He's got to play a little smarter. You can't play hero ball all the time. Live to fight another down. But I'm excited for who we've added to the roster. I think it's imperative. We have a really tough schedule right out. We host Dallas week one, then they go to the Rams week two. I think the Giants need to win one of those two games. The schedule eases up after that. The next four, I think Arizona comes in, Tennessee comes in. I want to say New Orleans comes in. Um, but I think it would really go a long way for the Giants to win one of those first two games. Neither one will be easy.
Let's go ahead and talk. Marvin, do you have anything that you want to add to that as far as the NFC East?
Oh no, no, not at all, not at all. Because like I said, they were going to be my initial when my first thought was to go with them, but I ended up going with the AFC North. But no, I think the East definitely is improved. Already a strong division, and it's going to be interesting and awesome to watch throughout the season. See how that division does.
Yeah, it should be a good. I think the NFC overall is going to be rip rock and roll, and the AFC. What about the talk a little bit about the Chiefs for a moment? Been the dominant team in this decade. You ever notice in the Super Bowl era they talk about parity in the NFL? A little sidebar here. Parity in the NFL, right? It's a league where the top team and the bottom teams are not that far apart, right? Yet in the Super Bowl era, do you both realize, and I'm sure you do, that there's been a dominant team in each decade that won almost half of the Super Bowls? Pittsburgh in the 70s, the Niners in the 80s, the Cowboys in the 90s, although they only won three, they could have won more, depending on, if Jerry Jones had kept have Jimmy Johnson around a little bit longer, did bring in Barry Switzer to replace him. Then you had the Broncos with the back-to-back towards the end of Elway's career, towards the end of that decade. Then you had the Patriots in the 2000s, the 2010s, and now you have the Chiefs. The Chiefs are an interesting situation here. They've been the dynastic team of this decade, easily. Patrick Mahomes going through his first injury might play in week one. And I know a lot of people, you get to a point where in the media, you get the benefit of the doubt argument. The Chiefs are going to get that all season long. But Marvin, let me ask you this. Obviously, as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, you got a lot of hope for this upcoming season, and you should. But they're the Chiefs lurking in the woods. Didn't make the playoffs last year. Things are simmering a little bit. Patrick Mahomes may come back, and he could be better than ever after this injury experience. How do you view the Chiefs coming into the season, looking at their schedule? They're going to have my 49ers, and obviously they got to face all the teams in the AFC West. It's not an easy schedule from what I can tell. But how do you view the Chiefs dynamic coming into the season, particularly with Patrick Mahomes coming back potentially from his first major injury?
Oh, they are always dangerous. They are deadly. They are lurking. They have been pretty quiet, which is even scarier. So no, you never count them out. They will be a major obstacle and a player at the end. And if you look at their schedule, I mean, they start off. We'll know what they have right off the bat. They'll be at home. They have the Broncos. It's that night game. Well, the whole nation will get a chance to see if they're actually back or if they're ready. And then if you look at their schedule and how it falls out, I mean, it sets them up pretty good. They don't have any tough challenges outside of that game until they play the Chargers and then the Seahawks. So I think they're set up for the comeback. And yes, they're definitely lurking. I think last year we had some surprise teams, including my own, that were able to get into the playoffs and had strong seasons. But you can't count out the Chiefs. You can't count out the Ravens. You can't count out of all those teams. You can't count them out to turn around and have subpar seasons back to back. And if Mahomes is back and it's healthy, they are going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem regardless. Andy Reid will not have back to back seasons like that. So I think they will be an issue. We will have to deal with them going if we make it into the playoffs.
That's a good point. Jack, what about you? How do you view the Chiefs dynamic coming into the season?
I'm a little more lukewarm on the Chiefs. Um, we don't know. Let's start with the most important position on the field, the quarterback. We don't know when Mahomes is going to be back. There's rumors that it could be week one. How much of Patrick
Would not
Mahomes is
surprise me.
back? You
I
know,
know
how
he's
much
working overtime.
how much of Mahomes is he in week one or week two or week four? You know, it's an ACL injury. It might take a while for him to become the Patrick Mahomes that we're all accustomed to. Maybe it won't. Um, my real concern is their defense. They lost their entire secondary. I know they got Delaney at a LSU, but
Peter
he's a
Woods
rookie.
as well on
Okay,
the defensive line. So
you know,
I think they've addressed that at least reasonably. So we'll see
yeah,
how it comes
I
together.
don't right now until I see them do it on the field. I don't have faith in the Chiefs' defense. They better damn well have Mahomes in Week 1 because I think they're going to need to outscore their own defense at least to start the year. They lost almost their entire secondary. Most of them went to Los Angeles. I think that's very hard on them, and they're in a division with Denver and the Chargers. Both of those teams can score. I'm really excited about the Chargers with McDaniel over there running that offense and the defense they already have. Um, I have to see the Chiefs defense step up and make a play at the end of a game, uh, in a tight game before I'm completely bought into the Chiefs. Um, I think they start to claw their way back this year. I'm not sold that Kansas City is a playoff team this year. I think that defense needs time, especially the back end, which is not easy to play. The transition from college to the NFL, especially the speed, is going to be eye popping for even for a blue chip prospect like Delaney. He's going to be baptized by fire in that division. I'm not sold on their defense. I think the Chiefs come out with an 8 or 9 wins this year. I don't think we see the real Mahomes, regardless of when he comes back, until Halloween. Let's say if everything goes right, I think that's when Mahomes really becomes Mahomes. And how big of a hole have they dug themselves by then? They should thank their lucky stars that the NFL did them a favor and they put them in Kansas City in Week 1. The game probably should have been in Denver on Week 1. Denver was the better team last year. Um, Denver won the division, but they got a gift and they got to play that game at Arrowhead as opposed to having to go out to Mile High or whatever they're calling that stadium these days in Denver. So that's a gift. But I'm not a believer in the Chiefs this year. I'm just not.
Well, I kind of lean towards your particular argument, although I love what they've done with the defense. Their first four picks were defense. You had Nanso Delany at number 6, Peter Woods at number 29, both first round picks. Mason Thomas, the edge defender out of Oklahoma, number 40. Then they went Jaden Kennedy out of Oregon at defensive back. So the defense should be improved, and you still have Steve Spagnuolo over there coordinating the defense. We know he knows what he's
Know him
doing.
and love him.
Huh?
I know him and love him from his
Yep.
Super Bowls
As
with the
as
Giants.
as well you should. Wasn't a very good head coach when he was with the Rams, but as defensive coordinators go, he might be the best in the league, along with the Brian Flores, a Minnesota guys of that ilk, or Robert Saleh before he became a head coach again with the Niners. But who's Patrick Mahomes going to throw to? They drafted Cyrus Allen, a wide receiver, in round number 5 with pick number 176. So obviously, you're not expecting him to be a full-time starter. Travis Kelce's not getting any younger. Rashee Rice is unreliable. Xavier Worthy's been a disappointment so far. So who's Patrick Mahomes going to throw to? How effective is that passing game going to be? I do love the signing of Kenneth Walker III for the defending champion Seahawks. That's a great signing that should stimulate the running game that they absolutely need to do to protect Mahomes a little bit more than they have. But overall, offensively, more questions than answers in my mind. And the offensive line as well. How's that going to come together? That has not exactly been a strong point for their team in the last couple of seasons, though Andy Reid's a big offensive line guy, but no offensive lineman in the draft whatsoever. They get Garrett Nussmeier in round 7, which is a very intriguing pick. I think he could actually turn out to be better than a round 7 pick, maybe a Brock Purdy type in terms of being more successful than people believe he might be based on draft position. But no offensive lineman drafted, none signed in free agency that I know of. So more questions offensively than defensively. I think they'll improve there. But they are intriguing. As Marvin said, they are a factor, and you're going to have to deal with them at some point during the season.
You better hope Mahomes can play because if not, you're turning the ball over to Justin Fields. Need I say more? Honestly, Justin Fields plays any significant games. The Chiefs ain't winning 5 games this year. If Justin
By
Fields has
the
to play.
by the way, that week 1 matchup, Denver and Kansas City, you hope you have Bo Nix against Patrick Mahomes, but you may not. You might have Jared Stidham against Justin Fields. So that might be the NFL's nightmare right there, as far as a opening game between two good teams, two good rivals, two really good quarterbacks, particularly Mahomes,
Kansas
and
City better pray to
neither
the
one of
gods
them may
that
play.
knee is
We
okay.
might get Jared Stidham against Justin Fields. So
I think worst case scenario we'll get because Patrick Mahomes, if at 60% will be playing, I think we may get a game where he hands the ball off because I agree with Jack that it's
can
going to take a
Patrick
while.
Mahomes
Go ahead.
can Patrick Mahomes decide to play the game just because of the TV implications of this? Does he have that kind of power with Kansas City? Like, coach, I gotta play. We can't have this field game between be Justin
Oh,
Stidham
no, no,
versus
no, no,
Justin,
no,
or
no, no,
Jared Stidham versus Justin
no, no,
Fields.
no, 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 no. You see what his paycheck is? No, 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 no.
Yeah,
Until
no, I
until
just
until he's cleared by somebody with a medical degree, he's not playing. That's not a joke of a contract that man that the money he has coming to him. Um, they'll punt the ball down the field, every possession with Justin Fields before they risk losing him for an entire another year, as opposed to holding him out potentially, who knows, for the first month of the season.
I
You
know it's a
know,
weird question to ask. It's just
no, the NFL is going to make money on TV anyway.
yeah, that's
You
true.
know, you
That's true.
you know you can have the Raiders and the Titans playing on Mars, and it's still going to draw fans. You know.
Not many, not many. Sorry, Marvin, didn't mean to cut you off there. You can finish with your thought, but it's a that's not a very good matchup potentially week one between two usually pretty good teams, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. So like you said, it depends on the health of those quarterbacks going into that game. But with improved running games, both of them. So we'll see. We shall see. But I'm excited. I'm excited for week one.
Well, speaking of exciting, the NFL's excited for the fact that they're going to have 9 international games in 7 different countries. If I could memorize them, I know you have Melbourne, Mexico City, Munich, London, Paris. A game in Paris.
Yes.
How's that going to be? That's the NFL in Paris is a very, very
They're
interesting
playing in Mexico this
combination
year.
to say the least. But huh?
They going back down to Mexico?
Yeah, Mexico City. Yeah, the Niners will be playing there. I forget against whom, but yeah, they're going to have a
The
game
Niners are
in
playing two
Melbourne and
international
Mexico
games.
City this season. Hmm?
The Niners have two international games.
That's correct. They're going to fly about 40,000 miles this year. And as the Niners fan, I'm a little bit concerned about that. I don't think the Giants have an international game. We
They
know
don't.
Jacksonville. We know Jacksonville practically owns the city of London from a American football standpoint, not a football as they call it over there, soccer. So the Jaguars are quite comfortable playing over there in London, although hopefully they have a better performance in London this year than against the Rams last season, Marvin, as I'm sure you remember very fondly. But how do you guys feel about that? I'll talk about the Niners doing 2 international games in a moment, but how do you guys feel about 9 games in 7 different countries in the National Football League? It's more of an international football league now when you think about it. How do you guys feel about that? I'll start with you, Jack.
Look, I know it draws. I know it draws eyes. I know they can play the games at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, no matter what. Well,
Or
I don't know when.
6:30 out here on the West Coast.
I don't know when the hell they're playing the game in Melbourne. I don't know what time the
5:30
game starts.
p.m. on a 5:30 p.m. on a Wednesday out here, actually. So not too bad. That's 8:30 by you guys, I believe. So,
Yep.
but yeah, that's going to be
Um,
a more reasonable
Look,
start
I,
time
I understand what
on the
they're
West
trying to
Coast.
do. I understand what they're trying to do. I think they're spread a little too thin. I don't think it's. I think it's still a novelty. I mean, honestly, is it anything more than a novelty in Paris? Maybe the people of London, some of the people of London have gravitated towards the National Football League.
Oh, they
Uh,
have, yeah. It's
we
very
do have
possible.
some players that grew up in Great Britain. Um, we'll definitely take some of their EPL soccer players to kick field goals for us if that's what it takes.
Well, that's part of the
I'm not a
reason why
big
they go out
fan.
there. That's part of the reason why they go out there. One of my theories is that not only do they want the international money and they want the international exposure, but they're also scouting for kickers in the best country in the best continent in the world for soccer, which of course is Europe.
Yeah, I mean, Look, it is what it is. It's okay. I've never been a big fan of the international series, and if you play one or two games as a novelty a year, nine is a little rich for my taste. Um, they're going all over the globe. I don't know if they're trying to become the NBA in terms of the international stuff with all the Europeans that have
Hmm.
invaded the
Or
NBA.
soccer, or
You know,
soccer for that matter. Yeah. Well,
yeah. Well, soccer is a distant sport in this country still.
but it's the most popular sport in the world
It is
overall.
the most popular sport in the world, but I'm going to leave soccer to the side. Soccer is a niche sport in this country, and it always has been, and it
I
always
would
will
agree.
be.
Same as
Uh,
hockey.
so more so than hockey, because you have Canada right there. But yeah, it is what it is for me. I've never had a big use for the international games. Like I said, one or two in London is fine. Nine is stretching it a little. And to force a team like your Niners or anybody else to do it twice in a season, I
Hmm.
think that should be outlawed. I
Hmm.
don't think that's necessary. There are 32 damn teams in the National Football League. Pick two of them, okay? You know, there's enough teams where you don't have to repeat performance,
By the
okay?
way, the only reason why Jacksonville, and I hate to say this, Marvin, I'll ask you about the Jacksonville angle of this, along with your feelings about the international series, is that Jacksonville is not very popular in their own city, and it's not a great sports city to begin with. But so the London games actually benefit them in terms of a fan base that makes their fan base domestically even bigger because they have an international fan base thanks to playing in London twice every single season. I think they need those international games, but they might be the only team in the NFL that needs those international games in terms of their popularity, in terms of their fan base. You can react to that also. How do you feel about 9 games being played in 7 different countries coming into the season?
Well. First, I'll talk about the international games. Um, I think it'll be interesting because the three new cities you picked, Paris, well, outside of Paris,
Paris, Munich.
Rio,
Yeah.
and
Melbourne.
and Melbourne. You're talking about very strong um football cities, right? Or football countries. So you're talking about places where soccer is king, right? But I think but as a fan, you know, don't get me wrong, you could play football anytime, anywhere. I'm definitely going to get up. I will make sure I watch it. However, as a person that owns um, Sunday Ticket and that has subscriptions to Sunday Ticket, I'm a little concerned that no one has brought it to anyone's attention that NFL Sunday Ticket, you promised me 13 games on Sunday, right? Well, if you look at this schedule, all the international games are usually played on the NFL Network, right? So now you're taking 9 games away from my Sunday Ticket package. This doesn't include, and these international games run all the way up to Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, you have a Thanksgiving Eve game this year on Netflix. So now you have Amazon, Netflix, YouTube. You have all these other companies coming in and
Mm.
now they're streaming games. So now you're not giving me 13 games in my NFL Sunday package at all. As a consumer, I definitely have an issue with that. As a football fan, hey, spread it around. International is getting stronger. Now, my second thing though, I strongly rebut and disagree with Jaguars not having any fans. We haven't had a blackout in forever as far as our stadium goes. At the beginning, when Shad Khan first came, yes, we did have that issue, right? We had the tarp, we were covering up seats. However, so we started that. We were the first team to get into that international partnership on a regular basis because we needed those gate tickets. We did. Because the reason why we're the only team that still plays in Wembley is because with that contract, they told us, the NFL said, if you go and play in London, you have all the gate receipts from Wembley. So that whole game is nothing but cash, right?
Hmm.
Straight cash with us. However, within that time frame, we built a very strong partnership with businesses with London. And with that, as a matter of fact, we have some investors that are part of that Four Seasons that will be opening in Jacksonville within the next year. So so that became a big, strong business partnership between Jacksonville and London because of Shad Khan. But at this point now, like if we didn't have London, we would still be fine. When our new stadium opens in 2028, we will be fine. Um, and you got to remember our area, right? You're talking South Georgia, you're talking Northern Florida. Now we're getting ready to expand and get stronger with Orlando starting in next year. And honestly, the only reason we have two international games this year is because of the construction at the stadium. And if you look at them, in previous years when we've had the back-to-back games in London or two games in London, it's always been an away game and a home game. This year, they're both registered as home games because we only have six home games in the stadium in Jacksonville this year, and that's because of the construction of the stadium, getting ready to put a brand new stadium in there. So if you're talking about a team that has a weak fan base, has a very low fan base, how in the world could you be building a brand new $1.6 billion stadium if
Oh,
you
I
don't
didn't
have
know
the
they were
fans
doing
coming in there?
that. That's
Oh
really
yeah,
real. Well, I feel like Jacksonville as a sports town is not. I mean, your point is well taken. I rescind what I said about the fan base. I think that's awesome. But I thought that's why the London games were offered is that it seemed like in town they had some difficulty in terms of developing a fan base. Probably because for a number of years the franchise wasn't going that well, but they're picking it up at this point. So I rescind my previous statement. I wasn't aware they were building a new stadium over there, though. That's outstanding, and congratulations on that. You said 1.6 billion.
yes, yes. All of our games next
Shah
year will be
Khan
played at
building that with
Orlando.
his own money, or is it publicly funded?
Oh no, it's half and half. So it's 50-50.
Uh-huh. Okay.
50-50. Yeah. So next year, all of our games will be in Orlando at Disney Wild World Sports.
Okay. Well, that's good. Certainly, and the deal in London is certainly a great one
Very lucrative.
for the Jaguars. Yeah,
Very,
obviously,
very,
that's been a
yeah.
great deal for the Jaguars for several years now. My feeling about the international games, it is too much. I would agree. I've Suddenly they've just thrown more teams, more games. You heard me say after the Niners draft, frickin' Niners. Well, I'm taking Niners out of that phrase and putting the NFL in it. Frickin' NFL, two games internationally, 40,000 travel miles. I mean, what on earth did the 49ers do to you guys? I mean, do you not like the colors? Do you protest the City Edition jerseys last year? Like, what is up with that? Giving them 40,000 miles. The Rams are going to travel 28,000 miles this year. And there's a part of me that kind of feels bad for them, even though they're my team's chief rival. So that's just ridiculous to send them to Melbourne in at least you do it in week one. You had the whole offseason to prepare for it. It's not like you played a game before that, but you have to play the following week, and it's going to be 10 days, but it might take them about a week to reacclimate back to the climate because that's a 15-hour flight from LA to Melbourne. And not to mention it's going to be a little chilly down there as well, which the Niners could probably handle because they play in San Francisco, not the warmest place either. That might not be a big deal, but the travel and then to go to Mexico City later on this season, I think in December, to play a game is just too much travel, NFL, and it feels like you want to give your good teams a chance to be as good as you think they can be. Sending a team out on two international games in the same season reeks of a little bit of overthinking, maybe maybe trying to outguess the room. It's too much, and it's too many games internationally. It's not like people don't know who you are. Like you're not playing games in Asia at this point or Africa. That would be very amazing if they were to have games in both of those continents. But you have the Europe fans already. That's pretty well established. Paris, Munich, obviously London, and now you're adding Australia to the mix. It's just too much, especially as a 49ers fan. There's one game a season, okay, fine. I know we're heading in that direction, but two games in one season, way too much. And to me, that is a little bit out of proportion. I'm not sure that was really well thought out by the NFL scheduling department.
I think they're just setting the precedent for us because we're going to 18 game season. They just getting us ready.
Oh yeah, of course.
They
Why
just
with
getting us
why?
ready.
But why with my team? Why not a team that actually a bad team like in Tennessee or in Arizona? How about them? Are they going to? Well, they're not going to draw the same. No. If you're the NFL and you're as great as you say you are, it doesn't matter which team you said. Don't give me that type of. You can have it. You can't have it both ways. I don't care how much money this league coming into this league. Send a team that needs it. The Niners don't need that. Neither do the Rams for that matter. But
So well,
it is what it
but you have
is.
you have to look at the business prospect of it as well, right? Because I don't know if you
I'm
can
looking at the
remember.
business prospect. They're going to make
So,
money no matter what.
but think about this. About 2 years ago, the NFL and the team owners, they carved up different areas, right, where they could have strong interests in different countries. So, like for the Jaguars, of course, London, but
Mhm.
they also claimed Ireland. So they have a major push trying to get more fans from Ireland as well. But you have different teams and different owners ended up going into these different areas. Because I want to say I think Dallas ended up Jerry Jones and them ended up doing Mexico or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's a whole lot of
Yep.
things going on behind the scenes that's got a lot to do with money and nothing to do with football.
I get
Yeah,
that,
Marvin
and I
makes a
think there's
good
going to be a
point.
game in Ireland too. By the way, I think Pittsburgh. The Rooney's are Irish. I think there might be a game in Ireland too. We didn't name the other countries. I think Ireland's on that docket as well. But go ahead, Jack.
Marvin makes a good. They are trying to. The Giants have been dubbed Germany's team. They ended up going Lions Patriots for the game in Munich this year. There was a very strong belief, at least before the schedule dropped, it would be Lions Giants in Munich this year. Germany is kind of the Giants' territory for whatever reason. But yeah, they're trying to get certain teams into certain markets. Obviously the Jags have ruled London for a while now, but we'll see. But and each of those travels, has their own set. I mean, Melbourne. You're right. The weather in Melbourne, it's going to be chilly. It's not summer. It's not
Well,
September in
whatever
Melbourne
season it
is
is
not the
here, it's the
same
exact
as,
opposite in
September
Australia.
in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's going to be colder, significantly colder. They haven't yet hit summer down in Australia, in the beginning of September. Um, Mexico City. That I don't know if the elevation is as high as Denver. Mexico City has high elevation, is it not? Isn't
No, it is. It is.
isn't there an elevation
That's a fair
standpoint
point.
in Mexico City? So we'll see. We'll
Yeah, we will see. Speaking about seeing things, we see that the Western Conference Final for the NBA, and actually, oh, I'm sorry. How do you react to your schedules? Each of your teams, your schedule, rate your schedule in terms of difficulty. I'll start with you, Jack, with the New York Giants.
The Giants, have an easier schedule than last year. I think their first two games, as I mentioned before, I think it's imperative they win one because their schedule eases up a little bit until week 7 or 8 when they have to go to Houston and play um, and play the Texans before their bye week. Their schedule, both Marvin's Jaguars and your Niners come into the Meadowlands to play the Giants this year, so we'll be welcoming both fan bases to the Swamp in New Jersey. Um, I think if things go right and health and development take place, I think this could be a 9 or 10 win team, and I think it could be a wild card team.
All right, Marvin, what about you? Assess the Jacksonville Jaguars schedule in terms of difficulty coming into the season. They are the defending AFC South Chad, so what do you think?
Oh yeah, we're definitely in the top five of toughest schedules for the season. We have a gauntlet to open up the season, right? Outside of Cleveland, and we don't know what Cleveland's going to look like. But we got Denver, we got New England. I mean, we have playoff teams. We got Philly, we got Houston. We go to Cincinnati once again. I don't know why they can never come to us, but and on top of that, the strength of our schedule. I'm grateful to the NFL. I think they want to see what we have early in the season to see if we're legit. We have um, three televised night games this year, which is unheard of for us. So we get a Thursday night, a Sunday night, and a Monday night football game against some pretty decent
Very nice.
talent. Especially Ravens coming into Baltimore to play the Ravens on Thursday night football is going to be awesome. Then we get Dallas and then Pittsburgh. So we have those night games, and they're closer towards the second part of our season. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because we only have 6 home games, and at one point we have like 3 away games back to back to back to back, and that's going into that Thursday night football game. Then we got Tennessee, then we got the Giants, and they're all away. So it's going to be a really, really tough schedule. Um, do I think we can match? Do I think we can match our record from last year? I think we can. I definitely think we can. I think we have definitely improved. I think if Trevor continues on that trajectory that he was on to end the season, I think we'll be a tough, tough, tough team to beat. And I think we learned some lessons from those 4 losses that we had last year. So, but if I had to rank it, we definitely in the top 5 of tough schedules. I mean, we're not Chicago, who I think has the toughest schedule in the NFL, but I know we're in the top 5.
Hmm. Well, I think the Niners, the schedule is they have 9 home games and 8 road games. So their schedule's a little bit easier in that they're one of the teams that will have more home games than road games, thanks
The
to
NFC teams
17
have
game.
9 this year.
Yeah. So they rotated between conference. Okay, that makes sense. 9 home games, 8 road games. The schedule to begin the season, they have the Rams in Melbourne. I don't know if it favors either team, to be honest with you. I think either team could beat each other in a neutral site game. We'll see how that game turns out. Then they get the Cardinals. They get the Dolphins in week 2. They get the Cardinals in week 3, and then they go to the Broncos, I believe, for their second road game of the season. No, I'm sorry. They get the Broncos in Santa Clara. So Rams to open the season, Dolphins, Cardinals, Broncos. Not exactly a gauntlet, 2 tough games, and the 2 games theoretically you think they're going to win against the Dolphins in Santa Clara, along with the Cardinals coming in for their first of 2 matchups. With a difficulty the schedule picks up is in November into December. On November 8th, after the Raiders come in on November 8th, which is a game I figure they should win, they go to the Cowboys on November 15th. That I think will be a tough game. The Vikings come in on November 22nd. We'll see if they can step up this year and be a little bit better, even though they didn't have a bad season last year, despite the quarterback struggles with J.J. McCarthy. Then the Seahawks come in on November 29th. That'll be a tough game. Then they go to the Giants on December 6th. They have the Rams on December 13th in Santa Clara. Then they go to the Chargers and the Chiefs back to back. And then they get the Eagles on January 3rd. So the toughest part of the Niners schedule is November, December, particularly November after they play the Raiders. I figure, and they're going to have the NFC East teams and the AFC West teams as far as the divisions they played this year. Then throw in a couple of other, ancillary games like against the Vikings, for example. So I think the Niners schedule, I don't know if it's top 5 in difficulty, probably top 10, I would say, maybe not top 5. More home games than road games. Definitely the brunt of their schedule, the difficulty of their schedule is November after the Raider game till about late December, around the time where you're ramping up and trying to establish playoff position and vie for your own division. So it'll be interesting to see how the Niners handle that after a schedule for the first several weeks of the season where there are some challenging games, but not the gauntlet of your schedule as far as difficulty goes.
Fair enough.
So let's get into the NBA playoffs, as I think we've exhausted the NFL angle of the schedule and some of the more intriguing storylines in the NFL currently. But there's a lot of intrigue going on in the NBA. The teams with the 2 best records, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champs, 64-18 during the regular year, against the San Antonio Spurs, 62-20. Victor Wembanyama and Stephon Castle, who obliterated Minnesota in Game 6 the other day to send the Spurs into their first Western Conference final in a day's age. We have that matchup. Let's look at it in terms of the breakdown. Who is favored in this series? Who do you like to win? Marvin, I'll start with you. How do you view this matchup between San Antonio and Oklahoma City, and who do you think is going to win it and how many games?
This matchup is going to be better than the finals. I can tell you that right now.
It might be.
This is the
Whoever wins
series.
this series is probably going to win the
Yes,
finals. So yeah.
yes. This series is definitely going to be better than the finals. And no disrespect to Jack's Knicks, because I really do believe that they're going to get there and they're going to put up a good fight. But these 2 teams are just so dominant from beginning of the season to now till it's just ridiculous. But oh my goodness, I think this one, everybody thinks this one's going to come down to, to the superstars showing up and playing big. But I mean, literally, the guards on both of these squads run deep. Their benches run deep. Um, this is going to be a heck of a series. It is going to go seven because if I'm not mistaken, I think San Antonio is 4-1 against OKC during the regular season, which is just going to add even more intrigue to it. But this is going to be the series to watch. If I had my picks, I think um, like I said, I think San Antonio, their guards are really, really strong, but I'll take OKC. OKC has two full teams um, for that organization. They can put their whole bench in and still run strong with you. So I think they just outlast them, but it's going to go 7 games.
Sorry, I was muted for a second. Jack, so how do you view this matchup? Who wins it? How many games?
I agree that, I like what San Antonio has done. I think they're building a real winner down there. They are so Wemby dependent, though. We saw it in what was it, game three or game four when he threw the elbow at Nas Reed
Hmm.
and got chucked. San Antonio didn't have an answer. The game was over, essentially. I think Oklahoma City is too deep for San Antonio. As a Knicks fan, I'm rooting for the Spurs because I think the Knicks can beat the Spurs if the Knicks happen to get there. I don't think the Knicks can beat Oklahoma City. I think they're just too deep. The Knicks are one of the deepest teams still left in the playoffs. The only team deeper than the Knicks right now is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're the only team left in the playoffs that scares me. I don't want any part of Oklahoma City. The Knicks fan base doesn't want any part of Oklahoma City. They've if there's been a team that's been more destructive, it's been a bigger wrecking ball than the New York Knicks in these playoffs, it's Oklahoma City. I think it goes 6 games to OKC.
I'm going to I look at the starting fives for each team. First of all, the point guard matchup's pretty juicy. Obviously, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander might be the best point guard in the league right now. Is going to be an MVP for the second straight year. But De'Aaron Fox is having himself a pretty good playoff himself. He had 21 points in that closeout game against Minnesota on the road. I think San Antonio is showing mental toughness because when you can wrap up a playoff series on the road, especially, that is mental toughness. Very impressed with San Antonio being able to do that, considering Victor Wembanyama's first playoff run, Stephon Castle's first playoff run, not De'Aaron Fox. He was in the playoffs with Sacramento a few years ago before he got traded to San Antonio. He had a little bit of experience. Mitch Johnson, the head coach, also his first playoff run, closing out a playoff series on the road. No easy
Is he able to
feat.
legally drink yet? Is he
um,
21?
I who Wembanyama?
No, the coach, Johnson.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I think so. But
All
he
right.
does he
I
does
digress.
he does look like a baby.
I digress. Go ahead.
Vince Johnson, yeah, I think he's old enough to drink, but to your point, he does have a bit of a baby face, but he's a heck of a coach. And
I didn't say
you
the
know,
man can't coach. I said the man can't get into a bar.
Yeah, it's not without getting carded. That is true.
As a bouncer, I'd card him. Anyway,
oh man. But I think the starting five for Oklahoma City and San Antonio both are good. And the Victor Wembanyama Chet Holmgren matchup, I'm especially interested in that matchup along with De'Aaron Fox, who's one of the fastest players in the league, by the way. You know, San Antonio can play up tempo with Oklahoma City, and then they have a guy, Stephon Castle, was a one-man wrecking crew against Minnesota in that game six. He's good at both ends of the court. And keep in mind that Stephon Castle knows what it's like to win a championship. Mind you, the NCAA championship with Dan Hurley at UConn not too long ago. However, he's got championship experience in college. That can help you even if you're in your first playoff run as a pro. So I think Stephon Castle is fearless and he's really good at both ends of the court, can take a game over like he did for Minnesota or for San Antonio against Minnesota in game six. They have a really good lineup, but then you have Dylan Harper coming off the bench. Then you have Oklahoma City, as you mentioned, Marvin, two starting fives. Obviously, their second starting five could be starters on any team. Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Jared McCain. And guys like that, J-Dub is probably not going to play. He might be out for the rest of the playoffs, but A.J. Mitchell has done a more than adequate job to allow Oklahoma City fans to not miss J-Dub that much. And then they have another Jalen Williams. And just they're loaded from top to bottom. Might be the deepest team that we've ever seen built in the NBA by Sam Presti, who is the best general manager in the NBA right now. Maybe in sports overall. I mean, he's just got a magic touch there that you can't argue with. Where I favor Oklahoma City is, Jack, you've heard me talk about this before. I like teams that have championship experience. I think that matters. Oklahoma City is still hungry. They want to win another championship. They talk about a team that wins a championship for the first time. Might not be as hungry. I think they're as hungry, if not more hungry. They're deeper than the team that was last year. They have dominated through these playoffs. They have two starting fives, and A.J. Mitchell's emergence in these playoffs has allowed Oklahoma City to play great despite the absence of J-Dub, who is easily their second best player. And then you have the Chet Holmgren matchup with Victor Wembanyama. That's juicy. De'Aaron Fox versus SGA, where I think the difference in this series is twofold. One, the experience of Oklahoma City, and two, the fact that they have a slightly deeper team than San Antonio does, even with a guy like Dylan Harper and Luke Cornett coming off the bench for San Antonio. So I say Oklahoma City in 7 as well. I think they will be tested before this playoff series ends, before they go to the NBA Finals. They've swept right through so far against my Lakers and against Phoenix in the first round. But that's going to be the difference in a longer playoff series, their experience as well as their depth. But don't sleep on San Antonio because I think their starting five is almost as good as the Oklahoma City starting five. Does anyone have anything to add to that?
No, not me.
No, no.
All right, the Eastern Conference Final. Jack, Knicks are in. Cleveland, Detroit, pending. Is there a you talked about this offline, but obviously this online officially. If you had your druthers that could choose your matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals, which team do you lean towards, and ultimately, who do you think they will face?
Well, it's twofold. Detroit has had their way with the Knicks this year. Granted, that wasn't the same Knicks team that we are currently seeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's pick your poison. Detroit, to me, would have home court advantage against the Knicks, but Detroit has one player that scares you, and that's Cade. Nobody else in Detroit, I think, is a scorer. I really don't. I'm not sold on anybody else being able to consistently hurt you in that Pistons lineup.
Mm-hmm.
The Cavs, the Knicks would have home court. We've owned the Cavs for years, but the Cavs have more options in terms of being able to score and going up and down the court. Not only Harden, of course, you have Spider. I think Detroit's a tougher team physically. I think Cleveland's kind of a soft team. I always have. I don't think that's changed. I started by saying I'd rather have Cleveland. Honestly, I think if we play Detroit, well, let me start here. No matter who we play, you better get the Knicks in game one because this is now their 8th day in a row off. The Knicks have been off for a while. So if you're gonna nip the Knicks, you better get them in game one before they turn into the juggernaut. They have outscored their opponents by 194 points in 10 games. And they lost, and that's
Not
including
bad.
2 1-point losses to Atlanta. That is more than the Thunder have, which I think are plus 191 in 7 games, or 8 games, whatever they have. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to say, give me Detroit. They beat us up earlier in the year. I want Detroit. Detroit's been calling for the Knicks all year. Careful what you wish for. I really don't care who we play. I think the Knicks will beat either team. I think the Knicks actually beat Cleveland in 5 games. 5. Detroit, I think, would be tougher. I originally started by saying I want Cleveland, so I'm going to stick with saying I want Cleveland. Give us home court.
All right. What about you, Marvin? A potential matchup with Cleveland, a potential matchup with Detroit. Do the Knicks win the series regardless of the matchup?
Yes, yes, they win the series regardless of the matchup. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how beat up do you want them to be going into the final, right? So that's
That
the
would be the
question. So
case with Detroit. I don't know about Cleveland.
exactly, exactly. That was my point, right? So with Detroit, it'll be physical for that entire series. Knicks definitely prevail. However, they'll come into it. They'll be a little banged up, and that's not what we want, because we've seen the Knicks getting ready to go into it and get down and dirty, and then Brunson, for whatever reason, ends up injured, right? So we don't. I don't know if we really want the bang bang series. However, um, you want to be battle tested going into the finals, and Detroit will do that for you. I think Cleveland, like Jack says, they got a lot of flash, got a lot of superstars, but they aren't a tough team. They don't play that style of basketball. They really don't. So I can see that series ending maybe not in five, maybe in six, but the Knicks will come out. They'll come out refreshed and ready to go for the final. So it just depends on what direction you want them, what mentality you want them to be in going into the finals.
I think in terms of a fun matchup, it'd be more of a fun matchup with Cleveland, considering they're so good offensively. They're up and down. A series with Detroit would be very physical. And I feel like that's why Detroit's probably going to take out Cleveland, is because I think the deeper you get into the playoffs, into a playoff series, especially where it's pure desire at that point, both teams know each other. There's not a lot that you can show at this point. The team hasn't seen of you either in the regular season matchups or in a playoff series, such as the one that Cleveland and Detroit are currently getting through. I think the Cleveland matchup would be more fun. I think the Detroit matchup would be more physical and would definitely embody the style of basketball that the Eastern Conference is known for. I can tell you this, Jack. I'm going to warn you, because Detroit is about to, I figure, to overcome another 3-2 deficit in a playoff series to win a playoff series. They did it to Orlando. I think they're going to do it to Cleveland. If you're in that series, you might not want to have a 3-2 lead in that series. I remember the Chicago Cubs in the World Series run in 2016 were down in every single series, and they rose to the occasion after that. Detroit might be a team that likes to have their back against the wall, like that 2016 Cubs team, and then they rise to the occasion, and then they overcome you, and then they kill you. And so, in a series with Detroit, going up 3 games to 2 might be a death sentence, so to speak. But all joking aside, I think the Knicks have the best chance that they've had to get back to the NBA Finals for the first time since the turn
It's
of the
1999.
century. Yeah, since the
99.
turn of the century.
They were an eight seed.
That's
An eight
right. And
seed
they
with
faced
Latrell
San
Sprewell
Antonio.
and Larry
Yeah.
Johnson, Grandmama.
Yep.
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 Yes,
Yep.
indeed.
Jeff Van
Yep.
Gundy's team. Let me
hmm
ask you boys a question. Let
Go
me,
ahead, Jack.
pleasantly surprised. I haven't seen this Knicks team play like this Knicks team has played in these playoffs. Where did this team come from?
Well, I was going to
I mean,
ask
you
you
want to talk
actually.
about all cylinders. I mean,
I
all cylinders. The argument can be made, and OG should be back, that the Knicks have the two best wing defenders in the NBA with Bridges and OG. Um,
could be, yeah.
that argument, but just they're not they're not beating teams, they're crushing teams. I mean, Philadelphia was not bereft of talent. They have Maxi, they have Embiid,
Who's a little banged up, but still, I mean,
but
they dominated the series. Yeah.
and they have Paul George, and they have a good coach in Nick Nurse. I
Paul
think
George had a
Atlanta,
decent playoff series.
Atlanta, the moment might have been a little too big for them. I am shocked at the way the Knicks have clobbered. I mean, these aren't even competitive games. I mean, these games are over by halftime. Are you guys as shocked as I am as a Knicks fan to see this brand of Knicks basketball? I haven't seen this brand of Knicks basketball, God, maybe since, I mean, even Pat Riley, they were all defense. Maybe since Rick
I'm not.
Pitino, you
I'm
know.
You
actually.
know, I'm not shocked, just because, like, right at the mid-season, the way they were playing, it was like you knew every time you played them, you had to bring your A game. Like Knicks were hot, right? Knicks were hot. But I think the Knicks needed the Atlanta series. That's why I don't see it won't be a thing where they're up 3-2 if they're playing Detroit, or they're up 2-1, and then all of a sudden they have lulls in the games like they did. I think they got bored with Atlanta. but I think Atlanta was perfect to have.
They were playing with their food.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was perfect to have at that part of the playoffs because that lets you know right off the bat you can't let up on anybody. You can't let up on anybody. If you're gonna play Nick basketball, you play it all the way for 4 quarters. And I think that was a turning point. And since then, that's why they, like you said, they just been dominating. We're not playing around. We're not messing around. We want a title, and that's how we come. And if you can't stop us, stand back because it's about to get ugly.
What about you, Steve?
You know what? I'm actually going to give a little bit of credit to Leon Rose and to Mike Brown. This is a team that is built for this kind of a playoff run. I don't know if you knew this, but Karl Anthony Towns led the league this year at double doubles.
Yep.
You've been very critical of him, but you know what? That's a pretty good mark.
Yep.
And rebounding is an important element of the playoffs. He helps you with that. He can score. You'd like him to be more physical, more go down to the box, dominate the paint, things of that
Not as
nature.
many stupid fouls.
Yeah,
He's got to be on the floor.
that's fair. He can be better defensively, but he's a really good rebounder, really good scorer. And Mikal Bridges, I think Mikal Bridges settling into a role, and I think Mike Brown's influence in that. Be one of our best defensive players. You'll get offensive opportunities, not more than a Jalen Brunson or a Karl Anthony Towns. OG Anunoby, my only worry with him is health. But if he's healthy, he's a great wing defender as well. Josh Hart is an excellent player coming off the bench and a great morale guy in the locker room,
Mitch.
keeping everyone loose. Mitchell Robinson, like
Deuce
this is a
McBride
team
has
that
had a
is
hell of a
built.
playoff.
This is a team
Yes.
that is built for playoff success. So I give Leon Rose credit. I also give Mike Brown credit. I got to ask you, is he Mike Clown to you anymore? Is he Mike
You know
Brown
what?
now? One
I got
thing
to eat
Mike
my
Brown could
words.
do for your team is help you be better defensively than you were before a coach like him came in. And I think his stamp as a coach that is very good on the defensive side of the ball has really come through with how the Knicks have played in these playoffs. Hence, yes, they've been dominating offensively, scoring a lot of points, but you don't average 19 points as a margin of victory every single game unless you're playing really good defense as well. And I think that's where Mike Brown deserves a lot of credit. So the question for you is that are you still calling him Mike Clown at this point, or do you
No, you
believe
can't.
that he's a good head coach?
Yeah, well, you know what? Whatever he's done in years past, even as recent as Thibodeau, the Knicks in these series, they'd be up 2-0, let's say, against Philadelphia. They'd mess around, they'd lose one or two games in Philadelphia, come back to the Garden Tide. They're not playing with their food anymore. They had those 2 1-point losses against Atlanta, and the Knicks flipped a switch and said, "We're done. We are done messing around with these teams." I mean, they embarrassed Philadelphia. That embarrassed. Not only did they beat the crap out of Philadelphia, they took over their building again. Again, they went down and made that thing MSG South. I'm impressed with the singular mindedness of this team. I'm impressed that they're not playing around. They're not playing with their food. They are finishing teams with authority. I haven't seen this even under Thibodeau. You know, you can go back last year. They lost again. The first game Tatum was out in the Eastern semis against Boston. They lost the next game to Boston. They had to go back to MSG to win that series in Game 6 when it should have been over in 5. They're not doing that this year. They lost OG Anunoby, who's played not only. I mean, he's a terrific defender. He's had a great offensive playoffs. Great offensive playoffs. They're finishing teams. I have to reverse course on they've unlocked Karl Anthony Towns with this point center position that he's now playing. It's not just Jalen ISO Carmelo Anthony ball, dribble the ball out while everybody stands around and watches for 22 seconds of the 24-second shot clock and then huck up a prayer and hope it goes in. They're moving the ball. They're draining threes. Whatever Mike Brown has unlocked, I got to give them a lot of credit. And you're right about Leon Rose. He's a top 3 executive in this league as far as I'm concerned. I'm biased, but look what he's done. This is a Knicks team that was a doormat for 20 years. I mean, he had a good run with Mike Woodson for 1 or 2 years, and until Thibodeau got there, they were they weren't only a door, they were a laughing stock. They were so bad. The Isaiah Thomas years, the Phil Jackson years, on and on and on. I mean, they were awful. So I got to give Mike Brown credit.
this to add to that, and this might be a tough pill for you to swallow, but say the Knicks do get to the NBA. I mean, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second straight year, which is
Yep.
something. Say they get to the NBA Finals. Do you know who gets vindicated by all of this if that happens? The owner, James Dolan. I mean, think about that. How much criticism did he endure after firing Tom Thibodeau after they made the Eastern Conference Finals? The Knicks are going back, might make the finals. This could be the best
But you
thing
know
to
what?
happen to James Dolan, the owner.
Well, to expand on that, let's go to Marvin because we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about the Orlando coaching vacancy, and you've seen two names. At least I've seen up here. Marvin, you may have seen more. Two names associated with Orlando: Donovan and Thibodeau. Without even taking a breath, Marvin chose Billy Donovan over Thibodeau. Marvin, what? Why did you make that choice, and what are your thoughts on Tom Thibodeau that you think Billy Donovan? I know with the UF connection and all that stuff that was a long time ago with the Gators. You know, why do you think that Donovan's a better choice for your squad than Thibodeau? Because to me, those are the two front runners. Coming down the home stretch for Orlando.
Oh yeah, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I love Tibbs because I'm a defensive guy, right? They are going to play defense. Unfortunately, Tibbs is going to grind them into the ground.
Oh,
So
you
by the
ain't.
time they do make the playoffs, they'll have nothing left. They'll have nothing left. Like he is, you're going to play defense for definitely 4 quarters, which is awesome. But you get to the playoffs, man, and your stars gonna be hurt. People gonna be teetering on getting injured just because Tibbs is gonna run them into the ground.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I,
Agreed.
I think I think Billy Donovan is a good head coach. I think you would have defense being played under Billy Donovan. He has a couple of college national championships. Therefore, he's got an acumen at both sides of the court, I believe, even though that's a college level. I think Billy Donovan is a better overall fit for Orlando in that he'll be demanding, he'll be tough, because you have to be, especially if you're a championship coach at any level. That being said, I think they'll be a little bit more balanced. They'll be better overall. They'll be the emphasis on doing the right things on the court, but also making sure players are healthy enough to show up on the court consistently and do those right things. I don't see those things with Thibodeau, even though he's a better head coach. A lot of people give him credit for, but I think Billy Donovan is a better fit for that team in terms of his style of coaching versus the style of Tom Thibodeau.
Yep.
Guys, I need your help with something. Before we get into the last segments here, we're running a little bit over, but we're having so much fun. Let's just continue here. I need your help with something. I need some therapy from you regarding my Lakers. Not that I'm sad that they got swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not the least bit surprised by that. I liken sadness to unexpected results. I'm not surprised by that result. Therefore, that's not what I'm sad about. What I'm sad about is that how are we going to deal with the LeBron James situation? The half the team is free agents. Do we bring those guys back? How are the Lakers going to bring in a starting center? Because I don't think DeAndre Ayton is going to be the long-term answer. Maybe a twin tower deal like Tim Duncan, David Robinson back in the day, or Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum not too long ago with the 2008 to 2010 Laker championship teams. Give me some therapy here. Give me some hope because it's an intriguing offseason for the Lakers to say the least. Mark Walters bringing in an assistant general manager for a couple of assistant general managers for Rob Pelinka. Perhaps they'll be a better drafting team, especially in the first round, than they've been of late with Hood Schifino and Dalton Connect. I think both of them are going to be gone off the roster after this season. Neither one of them is panning out whatsoever, particularly Connect. So give me some hope here. Give me some therapy. How does the LeBron James situation go? Should Austin Reeves get a max contract? I don't think he should, by the way. And how are they going to build a roster that could be somewhat competitive with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs, who aren't going anywhere for a while? So who wants to go first? Marvin, do you want to start first and give me some therapy, give me some hope, or just tell me what you think I don't want to hear but may need to hear? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I think the hope is that you haven't seen what the Lakers are going to be. This rebuild started when they brought in Luca, so let's
Mhm.
not kid ourselves, right? Making the playoffs and all of those things are great. That was nice. That was a great send off for
And they
LeBron.
won a playoff
But
series too, which gives me hope.
right, exactly. However, that wasn't that that's not
I
the
know
end
what you're
goal.
going to say,
Yeah,
but please let me
That's
just enjoy that.
oh,
Will you?
definitely enjoyed that. I think Luca was the first centerpiece for you all. I think you're within a 2 to 3 year rebuild, um, and I think they overachieved uh, for you all. I think it's a great
Yeah,
send
it's
off for
fair. That
LeBron.
March that March run was
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. But we still
yeah,
got
yeah.
blown out by Oklahoma City twice in that month, by the way. Those are the only
So so
blemishes.
they definitely overachieved. So the team you see now will not be the team that you see that tips off for the regular season moving forward,
Yep.
going next year and moving forward. So I think hope you have to have hope that they're definitely going to look to improve. They're going to replace some pieces, and the end result will be better than what you see now. LeBron, a great send off for him. He can go to Cleveland and retire if he wants. He can go to Miami and retire if he wants. But um, but
Do you think
it's
he's
time
not
to
coming
move on.
back? Do you think he's
I
going to
think they
part ways with the Lakers? Because I think
I
he
think
wants
I
to stay, but
I
how do
think
you
it's in
view
the
that?
best interest. It's in the best interest of the Lakers that he departs because you fully
Mhm.
turn this team over to Luca and
Yep.
what you want it to look like, and it's time to move on. You held on for too long. It's time to move on. It's time to go.
Interesting pick. He is a leader, though, on the team, and he's more experienced than anybody. So if he leaves, I'll get to you in a moment, Jack. Who fills that void as far as
Luca,
the leadership on the
Luca.
court? Because
you
LeBron
Luca,
definitely
you
has
Luca.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Luca.
paid for Luca. You brought Luca there to do that. Luca
Okay.
is the centerpiece of that team.
Okay.
Luca's the one that does that. I think. I mean, LeBron definitely is a great player, but what happens is if you allow him to come back, then the expectations are we are going further in the playoffs next year. So we're not retooling our team to see what it's going to look like to play around Luca. We're bringing in we're going to re-sign almost everybody we have and bring some more people in if we can to keep moving to keep it going for as long as we can, which is the wrong way to go.
Mhm. What about you, Jack? How do you view the situation of the Lakers overall? Give me some hope or give me some truth or a little bit of both. How did the Lakers handle
I
this
said this at the
offseason with
trade
all the
deadline,
free
Steve.
agents? Do you
I
think
said that,
Austin Reeves deserves a max contract? And do you think
no,
LeBron
I
should come
don't.
back? Do you think
And
he
I'll
will
tell
be
you
back?
this. Follow the Oklahoma City blueprint. Number one,
Hmm.
LeBron can't be on the team next year. He did nice things out in LA. He brought you a chip, COVID or not. It's still a chip. He's had
Agreed.
success out there. Let him go back to Cleveland and retire, which may be where he ends up going.
It makes
Um,
sense for Cleveland, actually.
yeah, it would. And I think that's actually where he's going to end up on a team friendly deal. He doesn't need any money, for God's sakes. Um,
Mm.
but look, follow the Oklahoma City blueprint. Instead of getting the Lakers have the cap room next year to sign whoever the hell they want. They do. They have oodles of cap room.
Second most amount of cap room space,
Yeah.
but they got a
So
lot of free
here's
agents. Rui
here's what the Lakers must
Hachimura,
avoid
Marcus
against.
Smart,
Now, you know,
obviously Austin Reeves. So
here's what the Lakers must avoid against.
some of that money is going to go towards
Don't
guys they already have.
necessarily go for the big splashy move. I've always been a believer. Bring in 3 or 4 really good players as opposed to 1 or 2 awesome players. You have your awesome player with Luca.
Mhm.
Reeves is a very good player. You surround him and build the depth, especially on the defensive side of the ball with the Lakers. Now you're cooking with gas. I think the Lakers they need to get away from this whole Showtime garbage. That was in the 1980s. They're not Showtime anymore. Okay. Uh, Stay away from the shiny new toy. Get 3 or 4, particularly 3 and D guys to come and
And a
play.
center. They need a center.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about on the defense. A lot of centers aren't. Cat's a 3 point shooter, and Embiid's a 3 point shooter. So you can get a 3 point
Isaiah
shooting
Hardenstein
five.
of Oklahoma City is a
You
free
know,
agent potential. I'd
go
love to
get
get him
yourself
away from
three or
Oklahoma City.
four really solid NBA players, starting caliber players. Build your depth, and now you can start. Look, as great as Oklahoma City's been, they're coming up on cap issues.
Yeah,
Oklahoma
Ray
City's going to have to
Ray
Lou
start
has
Dort,
been
yeah,
subtracting.
Lou Dort could be he's a
They're going to have to
restricted free
start
agent.
subtracting
Isaiah
from Oklahoma
Hardenstein,
City.
and eventually
So
AJ Mitchell,
they
guys
will
like that
pay
are
the
going to want to
piper.
get paid.
Um,
So
I think I think there's a lot of hope for the Lakers. I don't know if they're going to be ready to challenge OKC next year. Do I think that
probably
they can
not.
build
No.
this to be a top 3 team in the West next year? I do. I do. Denver doesn't scare me. They never have. Because right now in the West, for as loaded as they say it is, It's a two-team race. Nobody's fearing Cleveland. Not excuse me. Nobody's fearing Phoenix. Utah's a doormat. Is a doormat these days. The Clippers are always going to be the Clippers. Um, the Rockets.
The
Uh,
aspirational Clippers.
yeah. Well, get yourself three or four really good players
You think the
to come
Clippers
in
should
there.
lose that draft pick, by the way, number 5, because of the aspiration deal with Kawhi Leonard? That's
What's
another
that?
sidebar, but you heard about the Kawhi Leonard aspiration organization where they circumvented the salary cap and gave him extra money on top of that to circumvent the salary cap and gave him money from a fake nonprofit, that's supposed to plant trees that turned out to be fake. They have the number 5 pick of the upcoming NFL NBA draft, but I was just wondering if they should lose that draft pick. But go ahead, finish your point before I chime in here.
That really was it. Get yourself three or four really good players to come out there. I mean, the Lakers name sells itself. You won't have any trouble attracting people. Leadership's got to come from Luca. They pay
Okay.
you the
Yeah.
big money. He's a veteran. He's not a rookie anymore. He's played well in Los Angeles. Yeah, he doesn't play a lick of defense. Well, neither does Jalen Brunson. So
He'll
that's just,
try. He'll try to
but
play deep as well as
but
to Reeves.
I think the Lakers could be a good team next year. Draft smart, smartly, and get yourself three or four
The draft
really
smart, we
good
already have them.
rotational guys. Really good rotational guys, as opposed to going out and getting the shiny new toy.
I think I think the Lakers will win another championship by the end of the 2030 season. That's my prediction. So that's about 4 years from now. Nice wrap up period for them. If you're going to have a backcourt of Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, and all indications point to that being the case, you're going to have a front line of defensive monsters at the wings and at center, 3 D guys you talked about. I think they should bring back Rui Hachimura for instant offense off the bench. He's a really good playoff performer, one of those rise to the occasion kind of guys. Really pleased with what he did in these playoffs. I also think bringing back Marcus Smart makes sense because of a bulldog defender that he is. I'd like him to be more consistent when it comes to 3-point shooting. He was kind of up and down this year. He's very streaky, so I'd like for
Would you bring
that
in
to
Jalen
improve.
Brown?
What's that?
Would you bring in Jalen Brown if you could?
Yeah. I mean, first
Well,
of all,
there's some things going on in
you
Boston
want
where
to
he
talk
might
about a
not be
great two-way
back.
player. Yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
Yeah,
but
but
would the
I don't
Celtics,
think.
but would the Celtics trade him to the Lakers? And yeah, I know there's a lot of speculation about that over in Boston, but I mean, yeah, a guy like him, sure, absolutely. You bring a guy like that in. I mean, he's a Finals MVP for God's sakes. He's great at both sides of the court. He's a winner. He's got a chip on his shoulder that I think LA would benefit from. So yeah, I mean, if that's a possibility for the Lakers, Rob Pelinka should absolutely look into that. That
yeah,
said, they
No,
need a
there's
center.
some
no,
stuff
Jalen
going on
Brown's
in
signed as a
Boston with
free
him.
agent, and if you could get Lou Dort's a restricted free agent. Oklahoma City will pay their top 3 guys. They'll pay SGA. They'll pay Jalen Williams, J Dub. They'll pay Chet Holmgren. We'll see what happens after that, as far as guys like AJ Mitchell, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, and guys of that ilk. So the Lakers and Lou Dort, that's going to be a big one for Oklahoma City this offseason to see. He's going to get offers. Oklahoma City will have the opportunity to match this. He's a restricted free agent. But I'd like the Lakers to get one of those 2 players to poach Oklahoma City and bring in either a player of Lou Dort's quality as a 3D guy or Isaiah Hartenstein, which would absolutely fill the center need that the Lakers have a big need for, to say the least. LeBron not coming back. I could definitely see it. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. We'll see. I think he wants to be back. I think the Lakers like having him in the fold. But to me, if you're going to bring back Austin Reeves, you do not do it on a max deal. Bring back Marcus Smart, although he's going to shop around and maybe get a better deal. The Lakers are currently offering him, so he might shop himself around. I think bringing Rui Hachimura back makes all the sense in the world because it provides you with offense off the bench. Really good shooter, particularly in the playoffs. So it's going to be a very tricky offseason for the Lakers. LeBron, I'm 50-50 on again. Austin Reeves, no max. Bring back Smart. Bring back Hachimura. Try to get a center in there and try to bring another 3 and D guy. But if you could trade for Brown from Boston, then yeah, I think the Lakers should absolutely look into that. So an interesting offseason to say the least. And I thought under the circumstances, this year went better than I hoped. They did make the playoffs. They did win a first round series, which hasn't happened in the few seasons. They're going in the right direction. Now let's see what they do with this offseason in which Mark Walter is going to use resources to modernize the NBA, the Lakers front office, and give Rob Pelinka some help, some other voices in the room that they might draft better and ultimately have a very good offseason in terms of that and in terms of free agency, as well as bringing back players that they should bring back, such as the players that I named.
Well, you don't have to worry about Jaylen Brown. He's going to get traded to Milwaukee anyway for Giannis. So, how much you want to bet Giannis ends up in Boston? Watch that happen. Watch it
Could be,
happen.
could be.
Watch it
I can see it.
happen.
Hey, donning one green uniform for another kind of makes sense for both players when you think about it. That's definitely a feasible possibility for Milwaukee and for Boston. Giannis will be gone from Milwaukee, though. That appears to be clear as much as AJ Brown will be gone from the Eagles and going to the Patriots on June 2nd. Man crush and knucklehead of the week. Jack, you're first. Who's your man crush and knuckleheads of the week?
Well,
The last 2 weeks for you.
how can you, I could, man crush of the week has to be the New York Knicks. From the coaching to Leon Rose to the players on the court, the way they've dominated through these playoffs. We're going to get ramped up again on Tuesday night when the start of the ECF happens. Whether it's in Detroit or in New York, we'll see. The New York Knicks, for obvious reasons, are my man crush of the week.
Knucklehead of the week.
I know this man all too well. Steve, you know him a little bit from his time in LA. You can't score 3 points in a closeout game, Julius Randle. You can't be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are the same damn player that New York
had
got
to
rid
guard
of.
Wembanyama.
I know you.
What do you expect?
I don't
They
care.
messed him up on Wembanyama.
I don't care.
I mean, they would put
I don't
Gobert
care.
on him, for God's
Wembanyama weighs
sakes. I mean,
130 pounds wearing a wet sweater. You can't have 3 points in a playoff game, in a closeout game, at home, no less. Julius Randle, you got to be better. You are by far the knucklehead of the week. You are the same damn player that we couldn't wait to ship out of New York.
I actually had a different knucklehead of the week in mind, but that little commentary of yours is going to make me change who I was going to name as knucklehead of the week. We'll get to that in a moment. Thank you, Jack. Marvin, your man crush and knucklehead of the week.
So my man crush of the week actually goes to Napoleon Solo, which is the horse that won the Preakness yesterday. No one saw that coming.
How
Taj
about
Mahal
that?
had the lead all the way going into the final stretch, and Napoleon Solo came from around, took the pole position, and took it. I was truly, truly impressed with
Wire to
that.
wire, huh?
Wired. So awesome, awesome run. My knucklehead of the week, my knucklehead goes to the Baltimore Orioles. How do you take 2 for 3, 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, yet you're about to get swept by the Washington Nationals? Um, you
Would the
had
real Tampa
three.
Bay Rays stand up along with the Yankees for that
Oh,
matter?
we're there. We're hot. No, no, no. We're hot. We're there. Miami came. They were down. Miami came back
Yeah.
and got us yesterday, but we were due that one. But we'll see how the series goes with the rubber band today. But you get 3 number 1 picks back to back to back to back. You trade and you get the polar bear. Bring in Alonzo. You do all of these things for your defense. You move Cedric Mullins away from your team. You do all of these things, except the one thing you don't do is invest in pitching. The one thing you don't do is develop pitching. And what happens? This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. You are underachieving because you don't have pitching. You bring in Kittredge yesterday, and he gets rocked for 4 runs right off the bat. Because when we let Kittredge go after we had him for 7 years, there was nothing left. They for whatever reason the ownership does not understand you have to have pitching to win in Major League Baseball. I don't care how much defense you got. I don't care how much offense you got. You got to have pitching. If you don't have that, you end up where you are. So they are my knucklehead of the week for just not getting it.
Thank you, Marvin. My man crush of the week, Stephon Castle of the San Antonio Spurs, 32 points in game 6. of the Western Conference semifinal against the Minnesota Timberwolves, a one-man wrecking crew showing championship medal. He's got championship medal coming out of UConn, showing in these NBA playoffs. Stephon Castle, my man crush of the week. My knucklehead of the week, I was going to go with the Lakers, forgetting that LeBron James is now the winningest player in the history of the NBA. They did not recognize him when they recognized JJ Redick for his 100th win as a coach. I think that's probably an miss by the Lakers to not acknowledge that when they had the chance to do so. But that's honorable mention. But I changed from them being my primary knucklehead of the week. You talked about Julius Randle having a 3 points in a closeout game as your knucklehead of the week, and that's a fair point. However, I'm giving this to Chris Finch, the head coach, who had Julius Randle matched up on Victor Wembanyama, giving up 10 inches of or 8, 9 inches of height. And then you have Rudy Gobert guarding Stephon Castle. How do you do that? I mean,
Yeah.
what was Chris Finch saying? He's a good head coach, usually pretty good defensively. Not in that game. Chris Finch is my knucklehead of the week. Final comments. Jack, you're first.
No matter how this turns out for my New York Knicks, whether it ends in the Eastern Conference Finals again, like it did last year to Indiana, this has been a great season for the Knicks. Knicks fans need to enjoy this, no matter who we get. We'll find out later today whether it's Cleveland or Detroit. Just enjoy this as Knicks fan. Just enjoy this brand of Knicks basketball, because we haven't seen this in a long time. Not even under Thibodeau did we see this kind of game in, game out killer mentality from the New York Knicks.
Marvin, final comments.
My final comments for this week is thank you so much, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Thank you for putting an end to all of the hype and speculation we were going to hear if you did not decide to come back prior to training camp. Thank you for you not having to be the story about not signing yet and showing up for the Pittsburgh Steelers until maybe after training camp. So we really appreciate you putting the angst for the entire city of Pittsburgh at ease for deciding yesterday that you want to come through and collect another paycheck for another year. We would just like to say thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. My final comments are, would the real Tampa Bay Rays, New York Yankees, and Los Angeles Dodgers please stand up? I'm a little bit confused by this baseball season so far, to be honest with you. The Yankees have lost they're 3-7 in their last 10 games after being hot for a few weeks. Now they're cold again. And we know the Yankees, when they go into a cold swoon, they really go into a cold swoon. I hope that's not happening here, because currently they're not leading the division. Not much margin for error. Would the real Yankees please stand up? Will the Tampa Bay Rays stand up? I mean, are they as good as they appear? I know you think so, Marvin. I'm not so sure as of yet. They have been good against the Yankees. They have been good in the American League East. But honestly, are they as good as they've been so far? I don't know. I mean, you don't have Wander Franco anymore. We saw what happened to him. Yeah, somehow they're still hitting. Pitching they could use, obviously, but every team could use that. But would the real Rays and Yankees please stand up, show us who you are, then stick with that? Which brings me to the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani struggles recently. By the way, in case you didn't know, baseball players are human beings too. I love watching Shohei Ohtani play baseball. A lot of people are arguing, well, he shouldn't hit while he pitches. He shouldn't pitch while he hits. Why not? Why do people automatically assume that the current case is the future case? You can't predict the future. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to be fine. He's a pitcher. He's a baseball player. And that means he can play baseball in all that entails. People need to look at the big picture of this a little bit more. So he's struggling right now. With all due respect, struggling is not owned by any one human being. Everyone has it. Okay? People need to understand that Shohei Ohtani is still a human being at the end of the day, but a fabulous baseball player. Don't make him choose hitting or pitching. He can do both. Allow him to have the human struggle and to get even better, which I think he's probably going to. As a matter of fact, I could bet he's going to, because there are some things that are bigger than the opinion of us. When you're good at something, it's going to show through eventually. Shohei Ohtani is really good at baseball. Therefore, this struggle that he's going through right now is not permanent. Like bias versus being wrong, don't confuse those things. Stop conflating. Shohei Ohtani is going to be just fine. For the Dodgers, though, would they stand up? They're struggling right now. They got the second best record in the National League, I believe. And they're not going to win it every single season, even though they're a world-class organization right now, probably the best in baseball. They're going through struggles, and I know defending champs are not allowed to go through struggles, but this is not a matter of permission. It's a matter of reality. The reality is the Dodgers are struggling right now. I imagine they'll come off of it, but Shohei Ohtani, no one should be asking whether you should pitch or hit. He should do both, because he's getting paid to do both, by the way. $700 million, that's $350 million per ability, right? Therefore, let him go through his struggle. Try not to read into it. These daily talk shows, I know they got to have this stuff. They got to do all this stuff. Just tell the truth. All right. Just tell the truth. Tell it like it is. He's a fabulous baseball player. He's going to continue to be a fabulous baseball player, even if he hits some valleys to go with the peaks that are going to be very high and the valleys may be low, like he's going through right now. The Dodgers are struggling. Are they who they've been? And will the Yankees and Rays consistently show who they are? Because it's very confusing right now what's going on between those two teams. Interesting baseball season so far, even if it's a little bit confusing, and it should get even more exciting as we go along. And those are my final comments. And that will wrap up the 21st edition of the Living Room Podcast, a Die Hard Sports Radio production. For Jack Angelo and Marvelous Marvin Harris, I'm Steve Itzkowitz, a.k.a. Speakeasy Steve, reminding you that every sporting event is time well spent. Enjoy the NBA Conference Finals coming up. We'll get into that next week, along with more football, more baseball, and anything else we could come up with. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.